Hello, my friends. Our topic is the meaning of 157 vibration. What does the 157 vibration do? One reason we want to know is because 157 is a prime number, and the prime numbers are the building blocks of all numbers. When we know the meanings of prime numbers, we have a foundation for understanding all the vibrations. So what we often do to investigate the meaning of vibration is we see who has the most 157 vibe. And we use some research features in the Sirius software, and we find that a fellow named John Crittenden, Sawhill, has extreme 157 vibe. He's got so many planets in 157 vibe, and he gets the highest score by far. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, let's look at his 157 vibe chart. He has Saturn, Sun, Pluto, Uranus, Venus, all within 6 degrees. 5 planets within 6 degrees, incredibly strong 157 vibe. And then he's got Mercury and Saturn close together, and they're within 8 to 9 degrees of Sun, Saturn, Pluto. So that's weaker, but it's still within the 16 degree orb. In fact, this whole thing spreads just over 16 degrees. So that's adding a little more strength to it. The closer the planets, the way this research works, it gets more points. But you can see with 5 planets very tight, 2 others nearby adding a little bit more, he scores very, very high. He has so much of this 157 vibe that if we look at another feature in the program, to see what vibrations are strong, we go to this harmonic patterns listing number 1. It'll show us what planetary combinations are strong, and we'll go down and look. Oh my God, this is crazy. Yikes. Look at all this 157. Is that insane or what? I've almost never seen this in my life. All of these things, because these are 3 planet combinations. You have so many planets within the orb. Just enormous. Nothing else coming even close. He's dominated by 157. So it should be clear in his life. We should see a clear expression of it. So this research is exciting. We get to go in and see these extreme people and see if we can make some sense of it. We've done this for zodiac signs. We've done this for so many things, reviewing what's going on. So the top 6 people, I've got them listed here. We're going to look at all 6 of them. And we're going to see what 157 vibe means. And by the way, why didn't I do the 7th one? The 7th one has a score of 538. It's a big jump down from 613 to 5. It's like 75 points lower. So these 6 kind of are at the top, and then it goes down. This typically happens where, yes, you have the very top ones are very extreme. In fact, the very first one is way out in front. So these 6 are like much stronger than the 7th one. So it's a good cutoff point. That's why I did these 6, because why would I do this guy and he's only 31 points. Anyway, these 6 stand out. We do it. Now here's the meaning of 157. I'm just going to tell you so you've got it. And then we'll see how this fits all 6 people. Okay, what 57 vibe does is let me read the yellow highlight first at the bottom. Respect and preservation for a beautiful heritage. 157 is interested in something lasting, something deep, something profound. And what is special about this profound and deep heritage? If you have something profound and deep, almost by definition, it must be something special. Why is it lasting so long? And when you look at the depth of it, you just want to preserve it and enhance it. So what 157 does is it's this sensitivity to the deep, rich, important things we inherit, and to make sure we don't lose them. Make sure they don't get washed away by time. And furthermore, let's bring them alive. Not just to go back and look at the past, but let's see what's special and important and give it new life. So respect and preservation of a beautiful heritage, a heritage shared by many people. 157 vibe works on a level of many people, what many people are sharing, such as an entire nation, for example. And again, that something special in the heritage, respecting the freedom of people to determine their destiny. So there's this heritage, something unique and special, and what 157 wants to do is make sure it doesn't disappear, preserve it, enhance it. And why is this so important? Because this is part of, you might say, a destiny, an important gift for some people. Every culture has a long history and special things that have made that possible. That's what 157 ties into. Why do you have the kind of art, music, prosperity, insights in the world that you live in? What's beautiful and special about the place you live in? Where did it come from? It came through something deep and profound and special. And we want to preserve that and enhance it. And 157 also has the confidence to excel. They just go in there and they feel like, no, I was made to do this. They're confident. They're not afraid to step outside of what other people think. And they also often have opponents, competitors, because they're taking a stand for something that they see. I have that earlier here. 157 vibe often has an opponent or a competitor, and the 157 vibe offers an alternative. So to read the first part of this, a sense of mission or purpose that highlights the importance of preserving and enhancing the integrity of people and proper respect for them, the importance of leadership and self-reliance, a goal of greater depth, stability, respect, and maturity in a social fabric. 157 vibe likes to be part of a large movement. Okay, there you have it. That's the meaning of 157 vibe. Now, why the heck am I jumping all the way up to 157? There's other prime numbers in the 80s, 90s, etc. that we haven't done yet. Well, I was doing some other research, and it ended up that 157 vibe was very strong, and in order to make sure that the research I was doing makes sense, I need to understand 157. So let me tell you about that research. It was on full moons, and I've made a series of 3 videos about it. Maybe you watched them. And my theory of full moons is that when someone's born at full moon, to understand the full moon, you need to look at the planetary configurations that that full moon is embedded in. And let me show you the one that came up when I was doing the 157, when I was doing the sun-moon opposition research. And if you watch those videos, you may remember that this guy, Gordon Zacks, came up. And look, he was born with the sun at 21 Pisces 05 and the moon at 21 Virgo 05. Exact, to the minute, opposition. So he comes out very strong as one of the strongest full moons. But my theory of full moon is that if you want to understand the full moon, that exact opposition is going to get embedded in harmonics, in various vibrations. And if you look at his 157 vibe, there's the sun opposition moon with 3 other planets, all within about 1 degree. So the sun-moon opposition is vibrating to this Sun-Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Opposition Moon-Venus conjunction in 157 vibe. And what does it mean? It means Sun-Saturn-Neptune means a sense of a spiritual path, of removing superficiality. Very often it's cynical, like it wants to get to the real deal. Like let's find out what's really important, get rid of the hypocrisy and superficiality, looking for sincerity, a visionary sincerity, a sincerity for something inspiring. and its opposite is Moon Venus, which is basically nostalgia. And it means that this sincerity and nostalgia is vibrating in 157, which means it's looking to preserve and enhance a deep, important tradition and a special tradition. Some kind of sincere or spiritually focused tradition, and to bring back the beauty and the nostalgia of it. That's what he spent his whole life doing, was the most important thing happening. And so there's that sun moon embedded in that configuration, and that's what is happening for Gordon Zacks. So he was one of the, he was a political leader who arguably has done more to promote the Zionist movement than anyone else. Zionist movement, of course, means that Israel is a land for the Jewish people, that the Jewish people have this land and it belongs to the Jewish people. There's your spiritual heritage. There's your home, your moon Venus, the family, the place for the people to be. It's amazing how clearly this describes the main theme of his life and how pervasive this was in his life. He helped strengthen the political support of the USA for Israel as a home for Jews. As you know, if you're an American or if you follow American politics, on both the Republican and Democrat leaders for decades have been very strong supporters of Israel. And a lot of that enthusiasm was increased and developed through the efforts of Gordon Zacks. Okay, and another way to look at it, similar to what I just did for John Crittenden Sawhill, is that when you look at what vibrations are strong with this harmonic patterns listing number 1 in this Sirius software, again, you see in this case the, let me scroll down slowly, the 314 in capital letters because the orbs are so small, repeated many times, and nothing else coming even close. This emphasizes that for Gordon Zacks, this configuration, there's no other vibration going up to 360 that comes even close. Because when you look at this, you may say, well, how many other vibrations could have 5 planets lined up like that within 1 degree? None. None others for him. So this really, I mean, for some people it could happen, but for Gordon Zacks, no. This is unique for him. Should stand out in using our theories. According to vibrational astrology, it's very simple. What you see is what you get. If this is the strongest configuration, this should be the strongest thing in his life. So this is how we do the research. We're going to go through the top people and see if they all consistently match the interpretation that we got for 157 vibe. Here's a little more information about Gordon Zacks. Let me read this quote from him about when he was 15 years old, Israel was formed by the United Nations. So he's 15 years old. He finds out that the United Nations forms this nation, Israel, and here's what he says about it. When the land was returned to the Jewish people, I remember thinking to myself that that was the most important thing that was going to happen in my lifetime. Moon Venus, opposite Sun, Saturn, Neptune, in the 157 vibe chart. Wow. He's the radio of his mind. That's how we think of vibrational astrology. It's telling us how our awareness, what it tunes into. He gets that information and it just rings through him because this is what he was made to do, 157 vibe. I decided right then and there I would be part of the rebirth of the land and the redemption of the people of Israel. So this is the form, this is the channel, this is the expression that it took, exactly matching what is in his soul to do. And I talked about not only preserving but enhancing. He was a great speaker, and in 1969 he spoke to the Council of Jewish Federations, and he spoke about the scandalous condition of Jewish education. He was a born leader, a magnificent orator. As I said, 157 vibe tends to be strong. What was the word I used? They have the confidence to excel, and they will have adversaries. They'll have competitors. They take a stand for this. So he takes a stand for this. Obviously, not everyone's going to agree with him. So that's how it works for him. Okay, I've already covered all this. Let's go on to one more thing about him. Okay, I explained all this. Oh, here's one thing on this slide I didn't talk about. In developing our understanding of prime numbers, we use this modulus function because the prime numbers are distributed in these symmetrical patterns around certain numbers. And prime numbers are organized, especially by the number 30, and also to a lesser extent any multiple of 6. And when you do this modulus function, which means you just divide 30 into 157, and you take the remainder, you get a remainder of 7. And this 7, 13, 13, 13, 1 describes exactly what the 157 vibration is. It's a 7 supported by 13 and 1. And by the way, vibration 37, which is also a prime number, is a very similar breakdown. It's also 7 13s and 1s, but it has more 1s, 7, 13, 3 1s, and that's for 37. And for 157, there's 7 and 3 13s and a 1. Very similar. More emphasis on 13 with the 157, more emphasis on 1 with the 37. And 157 also is a much higher number, and they work a little bit differently. But anyway, if you look at the meaning of 37, you'll see some similarities. They're different. I mean, they are different. Don't try to mix them together. But there are some similarities, which is not surprising because it's modulus function. Okay, now let's look at the 6 people, the 6 super 157 people. I got into this because I was doing research on people born at full moon, and one of them had a huge 157 vibe. And my theory is that whatever vibe the full moon is enmeshed in is the meaning, works perfectly with this meaning of 157 vibe. Now, the strongest person in the database in 157 vibe is John Crittenden's Sawhill. Let's look at his 157 vibe. We already looked at it very briefly, but there it is. That Sun, Saturn, and Pluto are within 1 degree, a little over 1 degree. Oh my God. And Uranus and Venus close. Sun, Saturn, Pluto. Something very direct about this fellow. Something, no nonsense. No fooling around. Let's get to the point. Venus, Uranus, some kind of spontaneity, enthusiasm. And then the Jupiter is really going to bring in the enthusiasm. Jupiter's opposition at 28 degrees looks like it's falling. It looks like, what's going to happen is when I double this vibration to 157 times 2, which is 314, the opposition will turn into a conjunction. And then you'll see even more midpoint structures. So here's this 314 vibe. And now you see the Jupiter joining Saturn, Sun, Pluto, Uranus, Venus. If you're familiar with vibrational charts, you know that doubling a vibration converts oppositions to conjunctions, and it spreads the planets out twice as far. It's an overtone. It tells us more information about how these planets are vibrationally connected. And when we look at this, we also look at supporting midpoint structures. We see things like Sun is at that Saturn-Pluto, 6 minutes. It's also at Jupiter-Uranus. So you have the enthusiasm, the buckling down to details. And there are other supporting midpoints like Saturn at Jupiter-Pluto, only 12 minutes. These are all part of these planets. Saturn at Jupiter, Pluto, etc. So huge system with a lot of reinforcing midpoint structures. So what is it doing exactly for John Crittenden? What he was the president and CEO of the Nature Conservancy. The Nature Conservancy buys up huge amounts of land so that they cannot be developed. How is that as a way to stop the destruction of nature? If you're concerned about industry, cities, development, pollution, and you want to preserve nature, well, here's an idea. Start a nonprofit, get people to donate it, and buy up that land and make it into preserves so it cannot be developed. And the Nature Conservancy is hugely successful at this, hugely successful. During his tenure, the Nature Conservancy became the world's largest private conservation group and protected more than 7 million acres in the United States alone. Huge. Preservation of something deep that we have inherited, something special. That we have these beautiful waterfalls, these lakes, these rivers, hills, so many kinds of plants and special flowers and all kinds of things that would be lost and would be less beautiful. So again, the emphasis on preserving and enhancing. The Sun, Saturn, Pluto, no nonsense, sense of mission. Here's the interpretation. I copied and pasted it right here so you could refer to it. Respect and preservation of a beautiful heritage for many people. Wow, we are given the heritage of this beautiful land. Respecting the freedom of people to determine their destiny. Just like Gordon Zacks saying, okay, the Jewish people have this heritage. We need to protect it and enhance it. John Sawhill is saying, we have this beautiful land that we inherited. We need to not let it wash away. We need to not let people come in and lose this rich, strong tradition. We need to preserve it and enhance it. So there it is. Again, same theme as a major activity in the person's life. Now, next one is Els Borst. She was a physician, medical doctor, and she turned into a politician. And let's look at her 157 vibe over here. Here's her birth chart. It is on the hour, so it might be rounded off a little bit. And I did time adjust to make sure that this pattern stays intact, and most of it does, over at least 5 to 10 minutes before and after she's born. So what she has is Moon, Mercury, Uranus, and Neptune, all within 5 degrees. So you got the Uranus, Neptune, Moon, Mercury, something about the mystic, something about preserving our mystic soul. Jupiter gets involved on a large scale. She also has Venus, Saturn, and Pluto within 3 degrees. Well, almost 4 degrees, about 3.5 degrees. And they overlap a little bit with this pattern. So something about what the real beauty is. Again, the Saturn, Pluto. Same thing that one of the other people had, John Sawhill. So some real, you might say almost a harshness involved, dealing with real fundamental issues. By harsh, I mean not fooling around, getting down to really fundamental issues. So a movie was made about her. The year I'm making this video in 2024, The Legacy of Els Borst. I'll show you the website about the movie. There it is, Legacy of Els Borst. So an interesting life. She, let me get back to, and here's some quotes by her. But before I read the quotes, let's get back to this to learn a little bit more about her. So what she did was, among other things, as a politician, she supported euthanasia. So if somebody's dying and they're in great pain and they said, okay, I'm done, I want to end my life, and they need someone to help them, a physician to carry out the procedure, is that okay? Very, very controversial. She came out in favor of it. She helped, not only in favor of it, she promoted the idea that people should be able to do this. So, again, something important and fundamental that involves respecting the individuality of people and respecting their beliefs and their traditions and their understanding. It also brings up questions about what happens when you die. What is this all about? And we see her Uranus-Neptune involved there, dealing with what happens on the other side, you might say, if there is another side. But we're dealing with things that she probably has some intuition about, in some sense that people should be allowed to make their own choices. Okay. So again, we have the emphasis on preserving and enhancing people's lives, and with the Saturn Pluto, something fundamental and important, and that people have the right to live the way they want to live, according to the traditions that they believe in. If they believe that ending their lives is okay when they're in so much pain, respect that, appreciate that. If the Jews have a certain religion and they want to live a certain way, respect that, appreciate that. They're not hurting anybody. They're not being malicious. They're not stealing or committing other crimes. Respect, appreciate these important traditions and enhance them. The third person is Camille Berthollet. I don't know how to say that. And let's look at her chart. I guess it's French, so it's probably something like Berthollet. So here's her 157 vibe. And she has Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto, a Sun, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto within 3 degrees, highly independent. Oh, and Venus is right there too, with K2. She has Sun, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, Venus, all within 5 degrees. Wow. 5 planets within 5 degrees. You jump another 4 degrees and you get Jupiter. So Venus-Uranus is lively. She has Venus-Uranus-Pluto. That's the pattern that in 11 vibe becomes rock and roll. In 157 vibe, it might have something to do with preserving dance or music or something like that, enhancing the rich heritage that's been received. And with Saturn going her own way with it, Sun actually doing it, so having her own unique style in some way. So let's see what goes on with her. She was born on January 4th, 1999. She's a Franco-Swiss violinist and cellist. Okay, so there is the rich heritage of classical music that she's participating in. She's known in particular for participating in the television show, in English it means, translation is Prodigies. She was a child prodigy. She did this in 2014. She was 5 years old? No, 15 years old. She's 15 years old, and her performance of the second concerto of Vivaldi's Four Seasons won her the competition. She won the competition. Whoa. She started playing cello at age 8. In 2020, she and her sister Julie denounced in a video the sexual assaults and harassment in the classical music world. So here we are, classical music world, the rich heritage, the beautiful life, bringing new life into it, vibrant playing, alive, awake, Again, the confidence that 157 often has. They just go and do it. She becomes one of the greatest, winning this child prodigy competition at 15 years old. And so what Camille and her sister Julie do is they reveal the sexist remarks, inappropriate gestures that they themselves were victims of. They're not going to have any of this nonsense. Not even inappropriate gestures, bad remarks. No. Preserve the purity and strength of this tradition and don't let it wash away or get diluted or get polluted. Interesting. Nature Conservancy, prevent nature from getting polluted. Here we have this classical music tradition. Don't let it get polluted by disrespect. 157 vibe is very big on respect and appreciation, preservation and enhancement of beautiful ancient traditions, which is what she's doing. You know, if you're going to practice in classical music, something is driving you. She's got a Venus, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto in 157 vibe driving her to push this tradition. And she's still young. She's about 25 as I'm giving this video, and I'm expecting, you know, if she has a nice long life, and of course we all hope she does, that we're going to see her helping the symphonies, the orchestras, all kinds of production, helping them succeed, helping expand, helping give new life and vitality to this tradition, the beautiful concert halls, all this stuff, waking it up, making it relevant, making it alive, making it important. So it won't just be her by herself in her little world of her performances. It's part of a larger movement because it's her 157 vibe is strong. So we'll see if that prediction comes true over the coming decades. Okay. Fourth of our 6 people is Didier Rocher. And let's look at his 157 vibe. I'm at 32 minutes. I think I'll just make this a long video and, well, let me see. Let me see how much more I've got to go here and decide whether I'm going to cut this off here. What else am I going to talk about? No, that's it. We'll go right through. I'll do these rather quickly because you got the idea. Here's Didier Rocher. That's his chart, and here's his 157 vibe. And here we see a Sun-Uranus almost exact, very independent, with Mercury-Jupiter very close. So we have a Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus very, very tight. So there's an enthusiasm, a buoyancy, a big perspective involved, Neptune and Pluto. So he's got a Venus, Neptune, Pluto, very passionate involved. So big pattern. Let's see what he's doing about preserving and enhancing traditions. So he is one of 3 sons of the industrial Els Borst, famed producer of natural cosmetics. So his father is the head of this natural cosmetics industry. In June 1992, he succeeds his dad as the president. By early 1993, within 1 year, he began taking drastic measures. He fires up to 230 employees, reorganizes the entire family. The business was at the brink of collapse. He inherits it, takes strong action. He's got to fire a bunch of people. He does it, 230 people. By 1994, within 2 years, the company's turned around and makes huge profits, 350 million francs. Whoa! So here we have somebody who's saying, oh my God, I have inherited this massive, glorious business from my father. This is right up the alley for 157 vibe. He clearly believes in this company. He believes it's something that needs to be preserved and enhanced. He's not fooling around. He gets in there turns it around and makes it move. People with 157 vibe will make a tradition succeed. We saw it with every one of the people we did. They took the tradition, including Camille Berthollet. She takes this classical music tradition, bam, moves it forward. She's still very young and already winning awards, participating. She's going to be doing a lot to enhance the whole classical music tradition. Beautiful, beautiful. You could say almost sacred tradition is the way 157 feels about these things. They're special. And clearly, Didier Rocher felt this way about this, and he made it work. So he married, has 2 kids. He was a skilled athlete, enjoyed parachute jumping, underwater diving. This is common with 157 people. Great confidence, archery, pistol shooting, generally fond of sports. His enthusiasm, reasonably consistent with 157 vibe themes. We also have very, very little biography. I could find almost no information. So when there's little biography, we often don't get perfect matches because there's a lot of things going on in a person's life. Like I'm guessing about his attitude towards the family. We don't know that. So we don't know very much about him at all. At least I wasn't able to find any good biographies. Next person, Nicolas Maduro. So he, let's look at his chart. There's his chart. 9:03 p.m., so it's not on the hour. That's good for our analysis. Birth time's probably very accurate. He was born with a Mars, Saturn, Neptune. Very tight. And about 9 degrees away from Uranus and Pluto. So this thing spreads around. He's got a moon, Jupiter, a Mars, Saturn, Neptune. So he's going to work hard to preserve and enhance some mission that has some special purpose. There's the Saturn-Neptune thing. Very similar to Gordon Zacks, who had Saturn-Neptune. Here's with Mars. Mars, Saturn, Neptune. Let's see what he's all about. He was the 53rd president of Venezuela. He headed an authoritarian government. Now, this is another side to 157. They want to enhance some tradition. They want to elevate it. Some people feel that Zionism is harsh, authoritarian. They're kicking other people out of the land. They're claiming it as their own. It can be like a sense of entitlement with 157. Ooh, I didn't think of that word before. 157 often feels entitled by its heritage, which is exactly what the Zionist movement is. We've inherited this from thousands of years ago. This is our land. And so they will sometimes not be that very accommodating. And so Maduro feels like this is right, and they just do it. They take control, and they can be dismissive of their competition. He's been described as an autocrat and a dictator. Now, here's the other side to him. In 2012, it was reported by the New York Times that he was a follower of the Indian Hindu guru Satya Sai Baba. Whoa. Oh my God. So he's an autocrat and a dictator. He's also into Indian gurus and meditation and stuff. Okay. More on this. He's a fan of John Lennon's music and his campaigns for peace and love. Whoa. So John Lennon, with all his peace and love and everything, Maduro said that he was inspired by the music and counterculture of the 60s and 70s, mentioning also Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin. This is 13 vibe, the 13 influence on 157. Remember, it's 7, a bunch of 13s, and a 1. This sense of a special destiny, a special purpose. And gurus, things like this, are often involved with the 13 vibe and vibrations that include the influence of 13. So he appears to be a complex character, and his sense of mission and purpose and self-reliance is clear. His interest in John Lennon's campaigns for peace and love are likely related to a sense of that people deserve respect. So this respect, this honor, like we should not be disrespecting people. They deserve these things. Like Gordon Zacks, he's dedicated to a mission for a country, and there's a sense of righteousness about the rights of the country. So you get this strong leadership, and sometimes standing up against the people who are against it. Standing up, and some people would say being a little arrogant or autocratic. You could say that about the Zionist movement, from some people's point of view. And sixth, I think this is our last person, Mauricio Vila Dosal. He's also a politician with a sense of mission and purpose, and politicians are inheriting the tradition. I mentioned that in several videos. And let's look at, who am I looking at here? Where did he go? Maybe I don't think I read him in. Let me read in his data. Was it Dosal? I think was the last name. No. Sorry about that. This will just take a second. Vila Dosal. No, I didn't read him in. Okay. I missed him when I was preparing. So there he is. And let's look at his 157 vibe. And I was using a different wheel style just to be consistent. IFC. Let me just change this to IFC so they're all the same. Okay. So he has a Pluto, Moon, Venus, very strong. Gordon Zacks has Moon, Venus. The sense of nostalgia, of comforting the people. A Mercury, Uranus, Neptune. Part of it is very tight. So it's a Pluto, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Neptune, Uranus, and the Sun gets involved a little bit. So there's probably some idealism, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, some vision, some interest in the heritage of beauty. He's got a little bit of Mercury, Venus, means he probably speaks well, fairly articulate. Let's see what's going on with him. Whoops, I didn't want that. I want my PowerPoint. He's a Mexican politician who served as governor of Yucatan from 2018 to 2024. Prior to this, he was the mayor of Merida, however you say that. In September 2015, he reduced his salary by 20%. So what he did is he did voluntary restrictions of his own benefits. Reduced his own salary by 20%. He took the car that was assigned to him and he gave it to the police to use. He announced that he will cover his own medical and cell phone expenses. He's removing corruption. He's walking the walk. He announced that he will... he created a Department of Sustainable Development, a Department of Animal Protection. He visited the Federal Republic of Germany to learn about programs in the areas of energetics, mobility, urban sustainable development. He passed regulations to foster transparency, combat corruption. So, a leader with a mission that brings respect to the people and honors their integrity. I think Mauricio Vila Dosal, from this description, he's doing what 157 vibe is really made to do. Let's find the beautiful heritage. Let's not let it get erased, washed away by corruption. Let's preserve it, enhance it, and make it pure. We saw that also with the violinist and cellist, Camille Berthollet, that she, if I remember her last name properly, she was preserving the integrity and the purity of that tradition, not allowing these things that don't really belong in that context. So we see with 157 vibe, sometimes this desire for this unique, special quality and not wanting it to be adulterated. Do not adulterate the high, pure, pristine form of this tradition. Also, we see that with Gordon Zacks, preserving the Zionism, making sure the kids get the education. From his point of view, he's seeing that as a pristine, pure way of life. You may disagree. The astrology chart is not about whether you're objectively correct or not. It's what the meaning is to the person. That's the meaning to Gordon Zacks, right or wrong. That's what's going on. Okay, I think in the case of Mauricio Vila Dosal, it maybe is a little more obvious that there's not much to dislike about what's explained about what he's doing. Or not as controversial, you might say. Okay, so there we have it. That's the meaning of 157 vibe. So conclusion, we have good support for the interpretation. I won't read it again, but there it is. Okay, this is a longer than usual video. I'm at 46 minutes, but I wanted to wrap it up all in one video. So thank you. If you can subscribe, that really, really helps. Doesn't cost anything. Just go ahead and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. There's also a membership for people who want to meet regularly with me online. Here's some information about becoming a member. They're also in the description of this video. There will be a link if you want to become a member and meet live online to interact and get some, ask questions about what things you want to know about. Okay, my friends. Thank you very much. God bless. Namaste.